With good elementals. It's been a long time. Maybe we'll carve out some time at the end of the show if the space is available for us to talk a little bit about our hiatus. Unless you feel like doing that at the front of the call, that's on you. I mean, that it's your call. Um, Earth. I don't know how much you want to share, if any.
Yeah, I'll share. So we had a little hiatus for over a month, right? I think. Yeah, for about 5 weeks, 5 6 weeks, whatever it's been. My father passed away in June on the 22nd of June, and so I was away getting that business handled. And so that's why we've been away. Getting that handled, going through a little grieving. Well, not a little grieving. Grieving is grieving. It's what it is. And not really being in the space to really do the show and have and give you all the product that we would normally give you. So that's why we've been away for a minute.
Fair enough. Thank you for the transparency, brother. Well, I'm your host tonight, Fire, and tonight we got a pretty juicy show. Um, you all know the other elements, so I'm gonna just jump right into it in the interest of time. The topic tonight is can we change our hardwire? And so I would like for you elementals to begin to think about this conversation and frame it from this question. Are we predestined for failure and or greatness, or is it a function of the mind, the individual mind, will, emotions, choices, and actions? Right? So you see the title here is Can We Change Our Hardwiring? But existentially, are you somebody who believes fundamentally that we are predestined for an outcome, a thing, to be a winner in life and or to be a loser in life? Or do we actually have a say in the matter? I'll start with my brothers. I think I know what everybody's going to say, but you never know. We'll start with Earth and we'll go around the horn.
Are we predestined? Some things it depends. Like you have a purpose, and you're predestined to fulfill that purpose, but you still have choice at the end of the day. So you don't have to do anything you really don't want to do. That's the reality of it. So there could be things that you, quote unquote, are predestined to fulfill if you follow a certain course of action. But if you don't, you just won't fulfill it. It's simple as that. So that's my take.
Simple and sweet.
That
Appreciate it,
was
Earth.
easy. That was
Yeah.
easy. Yeah. I mean, me, I'm the consummate you can change. So no, we're not predestined for anything. I my whole disposition is we come in as blank slates. So you come in a blank slate, and unfortunately, our environments, aka our parents, really, and the environment that they expose us to, really starts to get that hard wiring. And unfortunately, a lot of us have to undo a lot of hard wiring that we have inherited through circumstances. When you're younger, you're impressionable. I mean, some of us still in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s are still impressionable, but we inherited those things and we have to unwire them. So I'm of the ilk of blank slate. You come in, expose things that starts to steer the course for you. However, hey, you can always come back and change that. Wind.
And I would say that inheritance does uh, generate a predestination in sorts. I would say that because of our DNA, because of our environments, because of the people that we are indoctrinated by and raised by, you know, um, that generates a predestination. However, I would agree that ultimately, as we get older and mature and more conscious, that we do have a choice to rearrange, adjust, and be malleable and choose something different. But I'll park it right there because I know it's going to be a great conversation.
Well, I thought you guys might have the disposition that you have. And with that being said, I think Earth said it Because where I sit is there's a school of thought or a study, a field of psychology called evolutionary psychology, and it's based off of Darwinism principles, and it talks about this hunter-gatherer nature that is like innate in us, and there's nothing that we can do. It suggests that there's nothing that we can do about it. This primitive way of being that we still have to grapple with today. So the way I would answer the question is, in some ways, we come with a hard wiring or a fixed way of being, but I believe that we can override it. And later in the conversation, we'll get into how we can override it. But I want to double click and go a little bit deeper. Let me shout out the Fifth Element, cousin Quaylin out there in Facebook. What's up, Quay? You are always riding when we're ready to go.
Peace,
so
Quay.
I'll go back to Earth. So Earth, if we're talking about the power of choosing, does the power of choice supersede the DNA, that DNA encoding, like that data that we had no choice about, but can we choose ourselves out of those encodements, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you still have free will at the end of the day. If not, you're just a robot. And you're going to do this no matter what you're faced with in life. You're still going to pursue whatever that is you're destined to, and some are destined to fulfill upon. And so we have choice along the way. Always. And I'm very clear. I always have choice in the things that I'm doing. I was a yes to that. Now I was a no at some juncture, but it just kept riding me. It's like I couldn't shake it at all. I kept being literally pointed in a direction. I was like, no, I'm gonna go over here. And I always found myself somehow being pointed in a direction that would lead me to where I am today. And so I could have continued to buck that and it's like, nope, I'm just a hard no to all of that, which I did that for years and years and years. And then circumstances had to arise in order for me to be a yes. Outside of that, I would still be a no. But there are certain circumstances that arose where when I looked around, wow, there's no other, I go this way because this occurs to be the path of least resistance in the moment. So I traveled that journey where for over 10 years, I was being told to do the same thing. And I said, nope, not going to do it. Nope, I have better things to do in my life. And I constantly did that until I was put in a situation where, wow, I'm not able to do X, I'm not able to do Y. So, Z is sitting right there. Go ahead and do Z.
You have the same disposition when you think about genetic predispositions to certain diseases.
Right?
Yes,
you do. Okay,
so,
yes.
Yeah, a family lineage of, let's call it breast cancer. And the doctors say that this person has 62% higher risk or chance of contracting breast cancer. Like how do you override that stuff?
Well, so you ask a very good question. And so I can only tell you from my practical experience. Sometimes someone's family is predisposed to a certain illness or disease because there's something that is in their bloodline that is causing that. I've literally seen this before. Because someone we don't always get. We too often lean on the side of the natural world or the physical world, and we don't take time to look and see, wow, there might be something going on spiritually that is causing this. And I've seen it time after time after time after time. And in a lot of instances, it's something that was done in that bloodline. Someone violated some whatever. Even if someone in your family, you had nothing to do with this. They may have killed someone 10 generations ago. And guess what? It impacts future generations. And we think it's just that this is that person's business and it's just their business and that's it. But it will impact the family, and how it manifests itself is how it manifests itself. It can manifest itself in you may have a family where you have a long line of people who are continuously 86 in people. Point in case, I had a client who unfortunately whose father 86 the mother and then 86 himself. Upon further review, the grandfather did the same thing. And then when I kept looking, I kept seeing it repeat itself going backwards. And so it was something that was there that was going from one generation to the next, next. And so I saw that it was in the bloodline. And some people would say, oh, they're just predisposed to 86 and the wife and then themselves. Because you can look at it and say that there's a pattern there. But then it was simple. It was simply doing some prayers, doing a ritual, and it cut it off right there. Because I literally saw that it was going to continue. It wasn't going to stop there at all. It's going to continue in the next generation, and then the next generation, the next, and next down the line. So it wasn't going to stop. So I'll just put a pin there. So it's not always as cut and dry as this is you're just genetically predisposed. I had a woman who her family had a history of ovarian cancer. And it went back as far as I could see. And I asked her, she came to me for a divination. I said, I said, your family, I don't know this woman at all, of course. I said, somebody in your family used to practice within a traditional spiritual system and they walked away. And I said, that's where the root of it is. She said, oh yeah, we actually walked away. My family walked away and moved to the United States to escape it. I said, well, that's the problem right there. And when I told her some other things that confirmed what I saw, and she was like, well, yeah, that's what it is. And when I asked her if she wanted to do something about it, her answer was no. And she came to me because she had just had a pap smear to find out whether or not because she had had some cysts and some other things. She wanted to find out if it was cancerous or not. And she came to me to ask me whether or not it was, because she was actually going to follow the same pattern. And when I say, okay, this is what we can do, because it's in your bloodline, it's going to jump from you, it's going to go to your sister's going to have it. I saw everyone who was going to have it. And she refused to do anything about it. She said, no, I'm fine. And that was that.
Wow. I want to there's so much to unpack here, man. Like I want to hear from Water and Wind, but I want to come back to you on the how do we change it? Because so what I'm hearing, and just correct me if I'm wrong before I move forward, is that there are physical generational pathology through DNA, et cetera, that may be biological, if you will, but then there's also spiritual things that occur. And inside of physical, there's also like in the body, but there's also actions, patterns, habits, like somebody 86 and they wife and they self, that's a pattern that is acted out. These ways of being that are acted out that get passed down, but then there's also spiritual stuff that we don't even think about,
right,
at all. And so what I want to unpack later after I go to Water and Wind is, I heard you talk about rituals as a way to disrupt or to break these. I'll call them curses for lack of a better term, or whatever. Yeah. Okay. So the question I have for Water and Wind is, as you guys are listening and you're taking this all in, can you guys think of a pathology or a hard wiring of your own that you overcame, that you changed the mind, the will, the emotions, you changed the behavior, you changed the habits, and really created your own outcome despite what pre-existed before you decided you chose your own path, and what you did specifically to get there, to transform?
Yeah, I'll go. I see Win over there, like, build me out on this one, bro. So I got you covered, man. You know, I grew up. So going back to my blank slate and just, hey, we surrounded by the things we're surrounded by. I grew up I was raised by a father who has a very quick temper. You know, abuse was, and this is my dude, okay, so let me preface this by saying this is my man, because I mean we've come to terms with everything that transpired when I was younger, and he's a different man now. He just was young. My parents had me young. My dad was 27, my mom was 24. Domestic violence home, it just is what it is. And I basically took on the anger. For me was a way that through being beat sometimes for whatever I was doing, you know, I was told to stop crying and you know, suck it up and be a man, you know, even though you're talking to like a 7-year-old boy or something, right? So you know, like me growing up, I took on anger as being like a quick default emotion for myself. And a lot of men probably can relate to this, because this is probably for men, that's one of the only acceptable emotions for us to express. You know, you can't express you're scared. You can't, you know, say, oh my God, you know, my feelings were hurt or something like that. None of those things are acceptable. But hey, if you're angry, expressing that emotion all day, everyone's like, oh, okay, man, stay away from that guy. You know, he's a tough guy. So, you know, like that was kind of the thought process that I grew up thinking was how you are a man. That's what I thought. So that cropped up its head and created problem upon problem in my life over the course of years. And eventually I had to just look in the mirror and say, man, look at you. Look at the relationships that you have permanently. There is no coming back from. There's no cleaning up. There's no reconnecting. Look at the relationships you've destroyed just from, you know, being an angry person. And even today, from time to time, I still experience anger, and it still comes up for me. However, the one thing that I do is that I have some sort of awareness around that anger. I have some sort of, I hate to use the word emotional intelligence, but some sort of intelligence to say, you know what, it's time to go clean that up. It's time to apologize to this person. It's time to acknowledge this person for what they were trying to, you know, like what they were trying to do instead of what my feelings were. And it's time to validate other people's feelings, and also to admit I was wrong. And that takes a lot of growing. It takes a lot of growing up, and that takes a lot of development as a man to get to that place. And it's a practice that I still practice today as we speak. So I would say that for me is what I would say is one of those things that I've experienced, and then how I came to actually make that change for myself.
Wow. First and foremost, salute to you, man. We gotta acknowledge our brothers when they get naked, as we like to say. And you know, we haven't done that much lately, and we haven't done this lately, but that was naked. And we appreciate you, Water. It sounds like, if I'm hearing you, it also sounds like that there's no finality to the transformation. It's almost like you have to keep the light on, You have to remain conscious in perpetuity to have that awareness to say, this is who I become in these certain situations and circumstances. I feel anger in my body, but I'm not going to be anger. So it's not like finito, like you body slammed it, suplexed it, gave it the razor's edge, did the 1, 2, 3, and it was done. Like you still have to practice consciousness in perpetuity.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. Things will come up. Things always come up. And the great thing about it for me is that I've turned it into a tool for myself to realize this is now when, like, guys, this is when the game is being played. not like afterwards when we get on the show, but in my life when I'm actually really upset about something and I really want to default to that behavior, and I have to actually take a breath. I actually have to experience presence literally in that moment. Otherwise, I'm just going to express anger.
Yeah. Wow. Key distinction elementals. And before we go to wind, I want to just say what's up to a few folks. We gotta shout our people out when our people come through. T. Ruth, I see you, sis. It's been a minute. Thank you for rocking with us always. Brother Melvin, if you're still here. Melvin said good response to Earth's response earlier. He was feeling what you was putting down, Earth, from Facebook. Danny had just a comment to say that I was told that family following the same habits and being in the same conditions, environments is what causes things to be hereditary. Social psychologists would certainly agree 1,000% that, but I think if you're listening to everything that everyone said today, is comprehensive. Like who we are, why we are that way. There's some sort of primitive connection to the Homo sapiens species, but there's also DNA, biological sequencing and encoding that makes us, be predisposed and this, that, and the third. But it's also spiritual things and pathology. So it's comprehensive. Like when you think about how comprehensive the SHIT is, and you start to think about how well do I know myself? Am I conscious and cognizant and mindful of my stuff? The things that don't work in me. And do I have a plan, framework, structure, system with accountability to make sure I'm doing what Water just described in perpetuity? Mm-hmm. Because you can't fall asleep at the wheel. You fall asleep at the wheel, that hard wiring just runs the show. It ain't nobody home. Shout out Globally Black. Good evening to you, family. Danny had asked a question to Earth. Let's get this answer. What was she supposed to do? Just curious, unless she missed it. So she's asking, what was the lady who left, I think, the continent, and what was she supposed to do instead of leaving? Because you said that was the problem.
Yeah, they should have abandoned what was inherent in their bloodline. She came from a long line of healers, and she even admitted that her family was healers. And we have to understand that there are things that we inherit, like gifts. In the same way someone may inherit physical gifts, we inherit spiritual gifts. We don't inherit those things for the sake of having them. We just don't. And they are supposed to be put to use for the building and for the benefit of community. That's why we have these gifts. And her family just abandoned it one day. Gotcha. To practice Christianity. And ever since then, like everything has been flipped upside down, like in her entire family. And there was a ritual that needed to be done. It's not that I confirmed this. My elders in Ghana, they confirmed the same thing. I didn't tell them what she was dealing with. They saw it. Wow. They saw all of it. And they said, oh, we just have to do this one ritual. And she doesn't even have to go and practice tradition anymore, but we need to do this in order to stop the cycle. And she said no. I don't know. It's happened me to no end, and because she'll go out and she was like, oh yeah, I do ayahuasca ceremony. She does all of that. And this was a very simple ritual to do, and she refused to do it. Wow. I didn't understand that. I can't make anybody do anything, but that's a choice. That's free will. So now she actually, you have to get, she was actually in that moment responsible for the fate of her current generation and future generations.
Mm-hmm.
And refused to do anything about it.
Wow. She made that choice consciously.
Right.
And I'm just present to how, like, we always talk about how important it is to know your purpose, to be in your purpose, to operate in your purpose and your gifting. But in this conversation, I'm just like, it's not just mission critical for you to be fully self-expressed.
Right.
This is like, it's when we say it's bigger than me or it's bigger than you, like it really is multi-generational.
Yeah.
It is so outside of, that's a whole nother show, but like as a dad, I'm like, man, before, like the conversation you guys heard earlier is like, I can't, I don't have time to mess around. Like they have to get it. They have to at least get it contextually before they go out there into the world and just live a life of fear and survival without any cognizance of or awareness around what's my purpose, what's my medicine, and why am I here. That joint could impact that mess could impact my grandkids, man.
Yeah.
Hell, I have to be operating in my purpose in order to even set the stage. Anyway, shout out to Brian from Twitter. This is our first, guys. I believe this is our first Twitter comment. Okay, Win. I see you getting the word out. Brian Brown, we always got to salute the brothers, the broskies, when they come through, especially from a different platform. Literally, we've done like 30 shows, and this is the first comment from Twitter. I think Water was like, man, Twitter's dead, bro. I don't even know why you keep even saying Twitter. I don't even know why you keep saying the word Twitter. So, shout out
Elon Musk is the only thing keeping Twitter alive right now. So
I do want to, so hopefully you got clarity, Danny. I do want to pull Therese Joseph's first comment at 524 because she got naked, and whenever one of the elementals get naked, we got to give them the floor. So Sister Queen, Empress Therese says she comes from 3 generations of women who had hysterectomies. Oh, ladies, really listen to this. 3 generations of women who had hysterectomies in their 30s due to severe bleeding fibroids. This is a very common phenomenon, particularly in the African American community. My mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, they told me to wait for it. Almost saying like, baby, you predisposed. It's gonna happen. You just wait. Now go to her next comment at 526. She said, Therese said, nah, it's not happening. I refuse that legacy. I refuse it. She rebuked it vehemently, and she's now in her 40s. No bleeding fibroids, not a single one. Ashe.
Dope.
Woo, guys. Before I go to Win, is this an example of what you were referring to earlier, Earth?
With Therese?
Yeah. In terms of overriding or transcending the biological pathology.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to sit and see what was underneath all of that.
Yeah.
There's something that she did that was different.
Right.
And I keep hearing very loudly, there's something that she's not eating that they ate. I keep it's loud. It's as loud as can be. There was no spiritual anything there. Something that she's doing in her life that they're not doing, and they keep pointing at food, diet, or something like that. So,
Therese, if that resonates, if there's something that you know your mom, your grandmother, and your great grandmother consumed religiously, and you're like, yeah, I'm not messing with that. Definitely let us know.
Yeah, she skipped the chitterlings. She's like, you know, she's like, you know what? The chitterlings can't do it.
Can't do it. That's the first thought I had. Real talk. Hey, Gail at Night. Shout out to Gail at Night coming to us from YouTube. Peace, Queen. Keikoa Surgeon. Peace, Queen, coming to us from Facebook. I think this is the first time I've seen your name pop up. Melvin Waters is back. So
I think you skipped Charles Gray, bro. Or Charles Grayson.
So Charles said what I missed. Charles,
okay,
man, you got it. bro, just follow along. Just jump right in, bro, like a moving train. You'll pick up on it, bro. We'll watch the replay as well, but you'll jump right in. Where else, who we want to go to? Sylvia Holloway from Facebook. That's a new name as well. Welcome, Sylvia. Just being aware of impact is important. Awareness is definitely, I would say, the genesis. It creates the space for transformation to occur, without which you you just flying blind. Gail at Night says at 5:38, my mother wanted me to have female issues or cancer so bad, she told my family members that wow. I gotta take a pause on that. Gail, I wish she was on her live to unpack that. That is Earth. What you whoa.
I'm speechless. I don't. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that at all. That's like, wow. That is,
Yeah, it's actually quite prevalent in our community that, our parents, are people that, we expect to love us, speak dirty of us. You know what I mean? I mean, we saw that in the movie Precious, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but it unfortunately is quite prevalent in our community, especially in the lower income sphere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the things that I was talking about that, has us predestined in some sorts, because those environments are so ingrained, so heavy,
Yeah.
that it's quite difficult to it's an upward trajectory to get out of that muck and mire. Now I say it's possible for sure, but like I said, it's quite difficult, and that's what we're experiencing right now. That's one of the reasons why we have these generations robbing and stealing, going in and out of prison, having baby after baby, all that, having diabetes, having, heart conditions, having stroke, having cancers. It's a function of all of that.
Gail, I want to salute you for your transparency, man. I think water set the nakedness off, and there's just been like a domino effect of authenticity and vulnerability, and that is so dope. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. After about a month hiatus, I was like, man, I don't know what people might have forgot about the four elements. Man, let's just see how it goes. Like, I didn't know what to expect. We got every platform represented, and we got some of the most sharing by more than my share happy self that we've had since we started. I don't want to step over that, because that is a credit to the space that this is. And I gotta shout out Water again for really setting off. With that being said, Win.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just go right into it. When I didn't need any saving water, but I appreciate the gesture. What came to mind, immediately was actually four things, and I really got to share it. You know what I mean? The first thing is that, we were indoctrinated with Christianity, and we were followers blindly. And when I was a kid, when I was a shorty, I said to myself that I would never, ever, ever be a blind follower, because I saw the foolishness, all around me, by people, just following ministers that had, a high amount of charisma and personality. And one of the things that I did was I committed myself to actually studying what people said that they believed in. And I actually picked up the Bible and read it cover to cover. I picked up the Quran, read it cover to cover, and a whole bunch of other texts cover to cover. I really studied it. It's amazing to me, that people call themselves Christians, people call themselves Muslims, or they call themselves Jews or whatever, and they never read the book. You can't be a chemist without reading books. You can't be a physician without reading the books. So you can't say what you think you believe in if you don't study it. And I'm telling you, if you study it, you'll gain so much power in your being that it would flip your wig, and it'll take you to the next level. So that's one.
Yeah.
Number two is that because of how we grew up poor, and I made a commitment to myself when I was younger that I would never be poor, that I would actually study what money was about. I would actually study business. And I did that. If you don't want to be poor no more, you don't want to experience that, you got to study it.
Demystify it.
Number three, health and well-being. Like I said earlier, we come from a people that's unfortunately predisposed to sickle cell anemia, diabetes, stroke, hypertension. And it's a function of what we eat, what we ingest in our bodies. And I saw all of this going on around me, and I was like, yo, I'm not eating that. And fortunately, I was graced to be exposed to a book, How to Eat to Live, when I was a kid. And it took me off to the races. And I ain't never been the same since. So if you want to be healthy, you want to live a long life, a vibrant life, study health and well-being. We got the wellness queens that, that helps women, circumvent, the issues with fibroids and hysterectomies. Therese, from the Always the Queen platform, she knows Saren, she knows the wellness queens. But I invite everybody that's listening to check out our sister channel, the Wellness Queens, as well as Always the Queen, the Metamorphosis with Therese. And also check out Gail at Night's platform on YouTube. The next thing is sex. One of the things that it is at the root of many of our ills is that we don't understand the substance and essence of sex. And as a Black man growing up in the hood, we are cultivated to just conquer and enjoy and have a bunch of notches on our belts. And at the age of 25, it came to me that this is the most foolish shit, pardon my language, this is the most foolishness ever. You got to want to, be with somebody and really enjoy somebody, not just to be doing the act. And, it was in that moment that I had an experience, and I was like, never again. Never again will I engage in sex with somebody that I don't care about. And that is a generational curse amongst Black men that we need to evolve from. And I'll just park it right there. I could say a lot more, but I'm gonna just park it right there for the sake of time.
And you hit your 4 points, man. Thank you for, I think you showed us some leg. You showed us a little leg,
Knee.
You showed a little hoochie daddy thigh. You know what I'm saying? You didn't get all the way naked.
Well, it's for the sake of time,
For the sake of time.
It's 8:50. It's almost 8:50, bro.
I got a prior commitment, but I think what you did though was you demonstrated through the 4 pillars that you decided to talk about how to overcome an old way, an old pathology, right? So I wrote it down because it was pretty concise to me. The way you speak is kind of how I process information, believe it or not. So when you yeah, the hoochie daddy thigh. So when you talked about spirituality, the demystification around spirituality was actually study. Like I'm not gonna just buy lock, stock, and barrel, believe what anybody's telling me. I'm gonna get in these manuscripts and I'm going to read them for myself and formulate my own opinion. This, because, you know, I'm assuming you came from a family of, did you have a lineage of a particular religion?
I mean, all of us grew up Christian, you know, for the most part. I mean, my one of my godmothers was a devout Baptist, and my other godmother was a devout Catholic. You know, but at the end of the day, it's Christianity, right?
Right.
And what I saw is that, you know, it appeared to me that they were following blindly, you know, because I would inquire about certain things, and certain things they couldn't respond to, and I would see people picking certain scriptures as opposed to just actually reading the book. And I say, yo, you ever read the book? You ever read this in total? Not one person read the book cover to cover.
Yeah.
And it always astounded me when I learned that. And I'm not just talking about Christians.
Right.
I'm talking about the full gamut, right?
Yes.
And it's amazing that we go to war over these things. And it's amazing these misunderstandings, you know, escalate to some real heavy stuff. And it goes on from generation to generation and generation. We see it over in the Middle East really clearly.
Facts. But if you look at if you look at your spiritual pillar, it was study. If you looked at your financial pathology or your financial inheritance, all the strongly held beliefs that you heard your mom repeat, or, you know, whomever, aunties growing up, it was study. When you look at health and wellness, or health and well-being, it was study. It was education. You look at sex, it was a revelation or a maturity. Like, you didn't go inside of a book to realize that this frivolous way of being just wasn't it. Something told you around 25, like you said, you made a declaration that the next time, or moving forward, henceforth, when I lay down with somebody, it's going to be somebody that I care about. It's not going to be for sport.
Well, I had known it before, but knowing and doing is two different things, right? And so what happened is that, you know, you like Earth said, at a certain point, you get fed up with things, right? And you just got to knock it off and move on to the next.
Yeah.
You got to accept the facts and say, oh, I got to mature in this area and do what's required to live and enjoy a healthy life.
Righteous. Fair enough. Thank you for that, bro. All right, I'm gonna spin it back to you, Earth. I know we have about 8 minutes, bro. So, and I know you might have to do a whole show on this, but because your mechanism that you interjected into the conversation is probably the least common, like study, having frameworks and perpetuity to create awareness and manage through emotional intelligence, as Water said. All these things, all that stuff we know. But you talk to us a little bit about rituals as a practice to break these curses. How do you what's the word? How do you know what ritual to perform? And from your knowledge base, from all the rituals you perform to break these yokes, has there ever been somebody where it didn't work?
Breaking those yokes. So I answered the last question first. No, not to my knowledge at all. And I guess for some people, the proof of that would be like future generations. But I know for many in their current generation, they've actually they've literally seen a shift. You know, and the proof is in the pudding. You know, so if you see how it impacts future generations, you know, that's the thing about that. What's your other question?
Yeah. So how do you know what ritual to deploy? In 2 minutes, my bad, bro. My bad, man.
Oh man,
Maybe we should just agree to have a part 2 next week.
I mean, so I can say, like, really quickly. First of all, like, it's a knowing. That's number one. Number two, it's like really digging into like our traditions and hours and months and years of just sitting with elders, because that's what it takes. Sitting, from sun up to sundown. Some days, there's nothing that happens, and other days there's more that happens than the prior day. But it takes a lot of, you can say a lot of study, but it's still a lot of knowing, because someone can say to you, oh, these rituals resolve this issue, right? But still, you have to know which ritual will address a specific person's problem, like the source of it. The source of your issue may be different, but how it looks on the surface, it may all look the same across the board. And you just have to be able to do like what we call, I guess the English translation is divination, to really look and see, okay, this is actually the source of this. Then you have to do something else to find out which one of these will actually work best for this person. There's not necessarily a blanket ritual that will resolve everything for everybody. That doesn't exist at all. It just doesn't. And so it's a lot more to it than that. Just because you go to someone, that doesn't mean that they have the medicine, and that doesn't mean that their stars alignment with your star to resolve your issue. If someone comes to me, I look to see, can I resolve this issue? And if it's a no, I actually look to see who can actually solve this issue for this person. I never tell anyone that I'm the end all be all. That's a taboo. That's dishonest.
Wow.
So I'll look and see who can actually, if I know someone who can resolve it, I say, you know what? My medicine isn't a match for you. So you need to go to this person. This person's medicine is a match, and they can actually resolve your issue, not me.
When you operate in purpose, you're not driven by capitalism.
No.
It's a lost client, right? Oh, I'm gonna take everybody because I have these gifts. No, you're actually weeding through, seeing where you can add the most value according to your medicine and your star and their star. Let me say this, man, before we go closing comments. When has it next week? We could certainly do a part 2 and have you lead with rituals. But I'm feeling something that I want to say to you. I feel like you have grown more powerful in your medicine, in your hearing, your listening, your knowledge, your wisdom, your knowing since your father transitioned.
Yeah, that's a whole other show within itself. Like the transformation that's taken place over the past month is, for me, is incredible. Even when I sit down and I do a divination with somebody, it's different. It's literally like night and day, totally like night and day. So yeah, it's been a huge transformation. That's a good way to put it. It's been huge.
I feel, and mind y'all, I haven't other than one or two texts over the last 30 days, I haven't heard Earth's voice or seen his face. I feel it in my cells, bro. Wow. And nobody knows what the grieving that you like. That's a whole show, right? That's a whole show. All right. Yeah. With that being said, I see a lot of people calling. Sister Therese is calling for a part 2, please. Sister Danny, shout out, man. You funny. It's been too long. I forgot Earth be knowing. I should know better. There's no belief about it. Like, there's no faith about it. He just be knowing. Now he like super knows, right? He knows. So Wynn, do you have a topic for next week? We'll skip closing comments because I think you all hit it pretty good. Do you have a topic for next week, or you just want to we ride the wave of this one and do a part 2?
Well, we have to ask the benevolent water first. We have to get permission. Is it okay, sir?
Wow.
What say you?
I don't know. What did the elements say? It's all about the people. The people. Whatever the people want.
Oh, the people want part 2 then. Part 2 it is.
The people say they want it, then the people are going to get it.
Well, people, you got part 2. And this time it will be conducted by your own, the wind.
Hey, he changed. Hey, Earth, since you've been gone, he changed too. He's
Did he
unleashed.
just say the wind?
Yes, he did.
The wind.
Oh man, that is funny. That
He
is.
he's unchained, guys. He's unchained.
Who is this guy?
I don't know. I don't know. But it's good. It's good stuff. Hey, listen, elementals, tell a friend, right? Invite people to the platform next week. Don't come alone. All right. That's the only ask I have of you guys and gals. Don't come alone. Don't keep this to yourself. Man, we back like we never left. I actually think we're better than ever before. So don't miss next week. All right. Same time, same place. Come on the platform of your choice. Be ready to engage. We going in. With that said, we looking forward to the wind hosting next week.
And Danny and Quay, that's capital THE.
Oh man, you stupid.
And as Gail said, please click the like button.
Yes. Thank you, Gail.
Always the queen of metamorphosis, Gail at Night, the Wellness Queens. Check it out all on YouTube.
Tap in.
Tap in.
All right.
Peace, everybody.
Peace, fam.